This is 7 News. Rain, wind, and snow. Arizona saw it all as a winter storm brought much-needed precipitation to the state. But officials are saying if you're planning to head up to the high country, mass firing, President Trump's latest effort to downsize the government, could affect thousands of people. What unions are saying about the move. Airfares on the rise, why airlines are flexing their pricing power right now. Plus,
I have no doubt that he saved them, but I know for a fact, without a doubt, that he saved their lives.
New details on that deadly plane crash in Scottsdale, why the pilot is being credited for his last-minute actions. And thanks for joining us for 7 News at 6. We begin tonight with that winter storm bringing rain and snow across Arizona. It's a welcome sight as we've been under somewhat of a dry spell this season. Moderate rain fell across some parts of the valley early this morning, while measurable snow fell in the high country.
I haven't seen snow for years, so except for on TV. So it'll be nice for a minute.
This is great stuff. There's like flurries.
Yeah. Wearing shorts. It's actually warm.
Come on now,
it's
shorts weather.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Officials are encouraging people to ride the winter storm out at home. If you don't have to be on the roads, authorities say it's best to not travel. But if you do, then they want you to take it slow and go prepared with items that you may need in an emergency. Officials are also prepared as they're expecting a lot of people to take a trip up to the high country this weekend, with it being President's Day on Monday.
We're looking for particularly black ice, snow accumulation, along with just their normal daily roadway obstructions, things like that, just to make sure that roads are clear and passable for the public. Kind of thinking through just your daily preparedness. What do you have to do to make sure you're ready just in case something happens.
And the winter storm is not only impacting Arizona, but our neighbors to the west in California. Road closures, evacuation warnings, and orders were in effect in the Malibu area after a system brought hours of rainfall to the fire-scarred Los Angeles County coast.
AFD is definitely leaning forward because of the rainstorms. We are prepared and ready. So we have over 1,000 firefighters on duty every single day, but we put 150 plus additional firefighters because of this rain. So that's from fire engines that they're in, to helicopters overhead, to bulldozers, urban search and rescue, and even 911 call takers. So we definitely are leaning forward and prepared, and we want to make sure that the public is prepared as well, especially if they live in an area where there was a recent burn. Be prepared to potentially evacuate if you have not already done so.
More than 36 homes were under mandatory evacuation orders in the Malibu area. Hillsides in the region were stripped of vegetation by the deadly Palisades fire in January, leaving them vulnerable to slides and debris flows. Portions of Pacific Coast Highway remain closed to the public as the threat of mudslides increase. To our other big story tonight, thousands of people could soon be filing for unemployment as the Trump administration began a mass firing of federal workers. With the move being part of the president's goal to downsize the government, the latest order primarily affects new hires.
9 million veterans are watching you give them the middle finger. And we're not going to stand for it.
Tonight, a mass firing of federal workers is underway as President Trump, Elon Musk, and the Department of Government Efficiency continue with their upheaval of federal agencies.
If you don't remove the roots of the weed, then it's easy for the weed to grow back.
Termination emails have been sent to a slew of government workers, including recent federal hires still on probationary status across several departments. At the Department of Veterans Affairs, 1,000 workers were separated from their work on Thursday, while employees at other agencies such as the Department of Education will be affected.
How soon do you want the Department of Education to be closed?
Oh, I'd like it to be closed immediately. Look, the Department of Education's a big con job.
For anyone who's wondering, these jobs are not Republican jobs or Democratic jobs. They're American jobs.
Hundreds of thousands of people could be impacted, according to the Office of Personnel Management. In a statement, a spokesperson said the probationary period is a continuation of the job application process, not an entitlement for permanent employment. It went on to say agencies are taking independent action in light of the recent hiring freeze and in support of the president's broader efforts to restructure and streamline the federal government.
The situation was not normal even before the termination notices went out. And then around 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, all of the probationary employees, as far as we know, which is folks in their first year or two, depending on what type of job they have, all of those probationary employees lost access to their computer systems, and then around 9 p.m. the termination notices started going out by email.
The exact extent of the firings is unclear. Some unions representing federal workers, such as the American Federation of Government Employees, condemned the president's move, saying his administration is, quote, silencing workers. The president is facing a lawsuit challenging delegation of executive power to billionaire Elon Musk. Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays, alongside Democratic attorneys generals from 13 other states, have filed litigation arguing that Trump has violated the appointments clause of the Constitution by allowing Musk to create the new department known as DOGE without congressional approval.
Donald Trump has grabbed the power of Congress and has handed it to an unelected billionaire. The richest man in the world is now running roughshod over the authority of federal agencies in violation of the rule of law and the Constitution.
Officials say the delegation grants Musk, quote, sweeping powers over the entire federal government without the advice or consent of the Senate. DOGE was created to discover and eliminate what the Trump administration has deemed to be, quote, wasteful government spending.
A lot of voters like to do their detailed research on everything that's on the ballot, and news breaks oftentimes close to Election Day, and you have hundreds of thousands of voters who like to keep their ballot and not fill it out very early so they can really take the time to research the candidates and the issues that are on the ballot.
Republican lawmakers passed a bill to speed up election results despite veto threats from Governor Katie Hobbs. The GOP plans to send the bill to the governor on Monday, giving her 5 days to sign, veto, or allow the measure to pass into law without her signature. Proposal would eliminate dropping off early ballots on Election Day, a practice election officials blame for the state's long vote count.
An early ballot dropped off on Election Day morphs into a late ballot, one that clogs the system and can cause delays in reporting the results of days or even weeks, which is an embarrassment to the state and a frustration to many people who want to know who won the election.
Following an election, Arizona typically takes up to 2 weeks to finish tallying all the votes. If the governor vetoes the bill, Republicans plan to bypass the governor and send the measure to voters next year. Developing now, 3 people walked away from a plane crash in Buckeye on Thursday. Firefighters were called to the Buckeye airport shortly before 3 p.m. for reports of a small single-engine plane that had crashed off the end of the runway. Emergency crews on scene found the 3 on board were able to walk around following the crash. They were evaluated by medical personnel on the scene. The crash did not cause a fuel leak. Officials are investigating the cause. And just 4 days after that deadly plane crash in Scottsdale, the NTSB has confirmed that the wreckage will be transported to a site in Phoenix for further investigation. That crash claimed the life of 78-year-old Joe Vitoski, and more details about his life and career are emerging, including how he might have saved his passengers with the actions he took right before the crash. Video shows Vitoski's Learjet veering off the runway due to a landing gear malfunction, according to officials. Despite the complications, Vitoski's daughter believes he was still able to maneuver the aircraft to prevent a much worse outcome.
I have no doubt that he saved them. And I know people are saying, oh, well, you can't maneuver anything because the landing gear failed. But I know for a fact, without a doubt, that he saved their lives.
The co-pilot and 2 passengers on board suffered serious injuries but survived. Vitoski was a Marine veteran and seasoned aviator known for his extensive career flying private jets. He leaves behind 4 children and 5 grandchildren. The investigation into the cause of the crash is ongoing, and authorities are working to determine what led up to the gear malfunction. A crash involving 2 vehicles in Peoria left an elderly couple dead. It happened on Wednesday near 87th Avenue and Cactus Road. According to police, they were hit by a driver in a GMC Sierra who walked away from the crash with minor injuries. The couple has been identified as 86-year-old Marjorie and 90-year-old Dale Cusrow, both from Peoria. The cause of the crash is unknown at this time, but officials say speed and impairment are being investigated as possible factors. An officer-involved shooting overnight in Gilbert left a man dead and a woman hurt. Phoenix police say that they responded to reports of a man forcing a woman into a truck near I-10 and 51st Avenue. The truck was tracked to Gilbert near Hiley and Williamsfield Roads, where the shooting occurred just after midnight on Wednesday. Both the man and the woman were shot. The man died and the woman remains hospitalized. No officers were hurt.
And if anybody has information that can give us a better understanding, again, what led to this individual forcing the woman into the car, we'll be able to come to a better conclusion on exactly what took place.
The recent bird flu outbreak has hit an Arizona chicken farm, causing them to lose roughly 1 million chickens to the disease. Hickman's Family Farms has had to make changes to their operations to account for a drop in egg production, combined with an increased demand on local farms.
Unfortunately, for the first time in our history, we've had to allocate some of our eggs. We've had to, ask, some of our out-of-state customers to source eggs somewhere else because we just didn't have the eggs to support them.
The outbreak is showing no signs of slowing down. Glenn Hickman, the president of the farm, says he believes the only way to help farms get through this is by vaccinating their poultry. New at 6, a grand jury has indicted 11 people suspected of being involved in stealing $440,000 worth of Nike shoes from a cargo train in northern Arizona. On January 13th, a group of 11 individuals worked together to allegedly transport 1,900 pairs of unreleased Nike shoes into a U-Haul truck. They were taken into custody after law enforcement recovered the stolen shoes. U.S. Attorney's Office of Arizona said that the train had been immobilized due to a cut air hose, which is a technique used by thieves to steal valuable cargo. 9 of the defendants are Mexican nationals without legal status in the U.S. The defendants will be arraigned for the charges in the indictment next week. And Mexico may pursue legal action against Google if the company continues using the name Gulf of America on its maps. The dispute stems from a decree by President Trump renaming the Gulf of Mexico within American territorial waters. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum emphasized that Mexico retained sovereignty over much of the Gulf and that the name Gulf of Mexico is globally recognized. Google, however, maintains that its naming conventions follow updates from official government sources. New video from the Utah Transit Authority shows a crash involving one of its front-runner trains last week. The crash occurred in Layton, Utah, and was caught on camera from 2 different angles, from a nearby street camera and from a dash cam on board the train. The video shows a white SUV stopping behind the white line at the tracks as the crossing arms go down, but soon after, the SUV appears to be hit from behind by a pickup truck, pushing it onto the tracks in front of an oncoming train. Luckily, the driver was able to get out and run to safety, but the SUV was demolished by the commuter train. The impact also took out the crossing arm and warning lights on the median. Officials say the damage to the train is estimated at 6 figures, but thankfully no injuries were reported. Coming up, TikTok is back. Why some people who deleted the app last month are downloading it again. Apple and Google have made TikTok available on their app stores again. The popular app, which is owned by Chinese technology company ByteDance, disappeared from both stores in the U.S. on January 18th, hours before a ban on the app was set to go into effect. It had remained unavailable to download in both stores until Thursday. However, users who had previously downloaded it were able to continue using it. Google and Apple did not comment beyond saying the app was available. Coming up, gas prices on the rise, what's causing the sudden surge and how long it could last. Record no burn days and air quality complaints, what officials are doing to those who violate the order. Rain was the story for today, but will it be the same this weekend? Details in your full forecast. But first, caught on camera, a 70-year-old man is in custody after this explosion. What led up to the fiery incident? That's coming up next on the news at 6. Caught on camera, a man is in custody tonight after a series of dangerous events that culminated in him intentionally crashing his car into a Prescott police vehicle before an explosion set both vehicles aflame. The incident started shortly after 4 p.m. on Wednesday when police were asked to help find and arrest 70-year-old James Crespo. He was wanted on several felony charges. Police were told that he was possibly armed and was, quote, threatening to blow people up, including law enforcement. Crespo was arrested and airlifted to a Phoenix hospital for treatment of his injuries. Fortunately, no one else was hurt during the incident. In your consumer headlines, spending data shows more Americans are hanging on to their cars longer than they used to, leading to more money being spent on repairs and less on new car payments. The data collected by the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis shows an 11% growth in spending on automotive repairs in 2023. Economists are saying more people are avoiding buying new cars right now, but there might be light on the horizon for the industry. Recently, there's been a slight reduction in prices along with some relief on auto loan interest rates. Experts say it could continue unless new tariffs take effect. If you've noticed gas prices going up recently, you're not alone. The average price of a regular gallon of gas in Phoenix is up 59 cents in the last month, according to AAA Arizona. Analysts say rising demand, a change in blends, refinery maintenance, and outages are creating the surge in prices that will likely continue for a week or two. And from the roads to the skies, get ready to pay more for airfare this year. Airlines are flexing their pricing power thanks to strong consumer demand. The rising fares have bolstered the outlook for carriers on both sides of the Atlantic. Major U.S. airlines, including Delta, Alaska, and United, are forecasting higher profits this year. Airfares in the U.S. rose at the fastest pace in 21 months, from December 2023 to the same period last year. Scary moments for drivers on an interstate in Oregon after whiteout winter weather conditions led to a pileup of 24 vehicles on Thursday.
You can't stop in this. And next thing I know, it's like, here's the impact. Boom!
State's Transportation Department said between 20 and 30 vehicles were involved. There were reports of injuries and people being trapped in their vehicles, but thankfully no reported deaths. And as we switch gears and talk about our weather conditions here in the Valley of the Sun, it was a beautiful day as we saw that rain and that snow move through earlier this morning. And what are we left with? A gorgeous view of a Goodyear Recreational Park with those nice big puffy clouds in the background. Right now, downtown Phoenix, 70 degrees out there. Winds are at 4 miles per hour. And let's talk about what we can expect as we move forward now that that storm has moved out. We're looking at a dry pattern moving back into our forecast. With that, our low temperatures, overnight lows, are going to start to warm up back to the average, and our daytime highs are going to get close to 80 degrees by the time we get into the end of next week. So let's take a look at where we're checking out right now across the valley right now. And we are in the mid 60s to lower 70s for the most part. That's with the exception of the far north valley right now. Cave Creek and Carefree at 60 degrees, 64 in Anthem. Out in the west, Surprise, you're at 70. Sun City West at 69 degrees. And Glendale, you're at 69 degrees as well. Across the state, it is a little bit colder, of course, in the high country, but really not that bad at this hour right now. 40 degrees in the Grand Canyon, 44 in Flagstaff. Winslow, you're at 54 degrees. As we take a look at the western portion of the state across the Colorado River border, 66 degrees in Bullhead City and Lake Havasu. Quartzsite, you're at 70 degrees, and down in Tucson, 64 degrees. So across the country, it's cold. That it really is the name of the game this weekend. And tomorrow, look at these forecasted highs that we have for places like Boise, Idaho, 35 degrees. Bismarck, we're looking at 1 degree for your high tomorrow, 22 in Minneapolis. As we move down south, Atlanta and Raleigh-Durham in the mid-50s. Miami, you'll be topping out at 80 degrees tomorrow and 35 degrees in New York. So this is a storm, a weather system that is really affecting the entire country. As we take a look at this map box radar, and as you can see, we do have a lot of snow moving up towards the northern edge of the country. And then in the Midwest and South, we're looking at that rain. So let's zoom in a little bit closer. This will give you an idea of how warm this system is. As you can see, we're looking at St. Louis right now. You've got that wintry mix. As it moves eastward, it's changing into rain and then snow in those higher elevations. So it is a relatively warm system for this time of year. Back here at home tonight, we're going to be up cooling down to the lower 40s at 47 degrees. Tomorrow, we'll be warming up to 69 degrees with a sunrise at 7:11 a.m. And since we do have that snow that has come through, let's look at the numbers so far. As you can see, Snowbowl, 8 inches of snow. We also have North Rim at 6, as well as Parks. Flagstaff, 5 inches of snow, and Mormon Lake at 2 inches of snow. So very nice if you want to go out there and go to Snowbowl or take a look at those snow-capped mountains. 7-day forecast for us as we progress forward in the week. Tomorrow, we'll be at 69 degrees. Start of the work week, look at that, 77 degrees. As I mentioned, with those lows in the lower 50s to upper 40s. By the time we get into next week, we're looking at closer to 80 degrees. And stay with us. We'll be right back after this. And before we go, we want to get a check of some of the stories making headlines tonight. Banner Health has already treated its first rattlesnake patient of 2025. On January 31st, an Eloy resident was bitten on his hand while lifting up a water valve in his backyard. He immediately went to Banner Casa Grande Medical Center to receive anti-venom and later spent a couple days in intensive care. Rattlesnakes are typically less active during the colder months, so hospitals don't often see many bite patients this time of year, but this does serve as a reminder to always keep an eye out. Maricopa County Air Quality Department officials say there has been a record number of no burn days this season. Those days are declared because of poor air quality. The department said there has also been a record number of complaints from the community. Since November 1st, Maricopa County has had 15 no burn days. More than 400 complaints were made and 56 citations were issued through January 26th. Those violating the order will be sent a warning letter from the department before being penalized. And Scottsdale City Council voted to cut ties with city programs involving DEI. The move happened during a very heated council meeting. The ordinance ensures city employees are hired, evaluated, and promoted based on merit. It also discontinues the use of city funds for diversity, equity, and inclusion systemic programming, which includes the Office of Diversity. And check this out, the third time was indeed the charm. Monty, the 4-year-old giant schnauzer from Ocean City, New Jersey, won Best in Show at the 2025 Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. It was the third time he took the top prize after previously winning in 2023 and 2024. Beautiful dog there, and congratulations to him. And that does it for our news at 6, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.